What's going on, guys? Welcome to another bourbon review. Kind of calling this like a Whiskey Wednesday type thing. Not that I'm going to be doing this every Wednesday. It's a Wednesday right now. I don't know when I'll release this. I might release it on Friday. Who knows? I don't know. I don't drink a lot. I drink maybe like once a week. But I'm so into bourbon right now. I'm always into bourbon. Yeah, always into bourbon. But I'm really inspired from my trip to Kentucky for my birthday, as far as the tasting, the history, all of it around bourbon, and I'm just kind of inspired to get back into doing these reviews and talking about it. So, I don't know if I probably will not be releasing these once a week, let's be honest. I got a lot of other shit to do. But nonetheless, it's something fun. It's something to, it's a hobby of mine, and I enjoy it. I don't drink a lot. I'm not here to get drunk or anything like that. I really enjoy exploring new things in life and getting to know things better and the science behind stuff. I'm a nerd, and that's kind of why I like bourbon so much. And so what we got today, something cool, man. We got this Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Series. So a little bit of history on this one. Bardstown Bourbon Company. They opened up a distillery in 2016 in Bardstown in Kentucky, which is ballsy, right? You're opening up a distillery when people have been there, like Jim Beam, Wild Turkey, like Brown Foreman, etc., since like the 1800s. And you're coming in like, all right, we got it. We got a formula. We know what we're going to do. That's some cojones, right? And so Bardstown, for when you do that, again, I kind of talked about it when I talked about this preservation bottle. If you watch that video, you got to figure out ways to like start turning a profit, right? I mean, obviously these guys have investors, but you got to start putting product out. So what they did is they created stuff called like Fusion Series and Exploratory Series, where they were blending some of their younger aged bourbons with some Kentucky straight bourbons, maybe that they sourced from other companies, or they would take some Tennessee whiskey, blend it with some of theirs, and they were creating like really great bourbons. I haven't tried any, to be fair, but like all of the whiskey YouTubers and stuff swear by a lot of it. It was at a higher price. It was like 120 bucks, but a lot of people loved them. What this just came out. This is their first run of their own distilled aged bourbons. And so they opened in 2016. This is 6 years old, right? 2002. This came out. They finally put it on the market this past like month or so, and these are flying off the shelves. So a little bit about this bottle in particular. The reason there's so much hype behind this is everybody loved their like Fusion Series and all that stuff. It was great. But this bottle, right? It's 6 years. It's supposed to be exquisite. The main reason people are clamoring for this is the price point. For those in the whiskey world and the bourbon world, you've seen prices skyrocket the past 3 to 5 years. And I've been in the bourbon now for about that same amount of time, and a bottle that maybe used to cost me 50 bucks, sometimes I see it for like 70, 75, which is crazy. And what Bardstown could have done here is, knowing that they had a big fan base, a bunch of clamor for when this came out, is they could have priced this at $70, $75 and people probably would have bought it. But what they did instead was they priced it right around $45 to $50, depending on where you're at. I got this one at my local liquor store, smaller mom and pop liquor store, for I think like $46, $47. And that's awesome, right? Because at the end of the day, that's they're trying to insert themselves in the market as like, hey, we're a very good bourbon, but this isn't something that's going to break the bank. You could buy this as a daily drinker. Hard part about that though is you can't. I got lucky finding this. Was random. I wasn't looking for this. I was in the liquor store getting a bourbon for my friend for his birthday. Owner of the place heard me and my friend talking, came over and was like, "Oh, you guys like bourbon? Da, da, da. I have the Bardstown Origin." And I'm like, "Really?" And I went over there, and sure as shit, he had 6 bottles of this, which is their bottled and bond, and then 6 bottles of their other one, which is their rye. We'll talk about the mash bill in a second, but if you find this, get it. If you're into bourbon, just get it, because honestly, These things are flying off the shelves because so many people were so excited that are in the bourbon world and the whiskey world were excited for this. Just get it. I wish I would have got both bottles. I didn't. I just went for the bottled and bond here, so let's talk about that. Bottled and bond, meaning it has to be 100 proof. Bottled and bond is a legal statement. There's legal things that has to go on with that for when it goes into the barrel, all this kind of stuff. The main thing for us here is that it's going to be 100 proof. It has to be 100 proof. Age 6 years. Okay, this mash bill, this one, the bottled and bond mash bill, 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley. So it's a 3-grain mash bill, right? Most just run-of-the-mill blended bourbons, 4-grain mash bill, corn. I forgot, I'm done. Last time I couldn't remember. Oh, I know it now. Corn, rye, wheat, and malted barley. Their other one is also just a 3-grain mash bill. It's corn, and then instead of wheat, it's rye. So there's no wheat in that one. So this is what we would call like a wheated bourbon. Wheatthins. Wheated. So we're going to smell it. We're going to taste it. Now, I do want to do something with this. I have this Wilderness Trail. I have not done my own specific video of this. I have a lot of bourbons. I haven't done that because, again, I'm not drinking all the time to be doing that. The only reason I want to do this is this Wilderness Trail is also a wheated bourbon. This is like the highest wheated bourbon on the market. At least that's what they say. It's 64% corn and 24% wheat, so 4% more. But it's also bottled and bond, same proof. So I think it'll be kind of cool just to do a comparison of the two. As you can see, I've cracked open both of these, so this isn't like a raw tasting of this. But I haven't spent a lot of quality time with either of these to really go over it. So that's what I'm going to do with you. Spend some quality time. Also, dope setup. This is my bar, right? I mean, come on, dude, setting the mood here, right? So let's pour this bad boy. Let's pop the top here. Boom. Got my Glencairn. Let's do a little pourski here. So let's just talk about color first and foremost. So 6 years. Not super dark. Nice, just run-of-the-mill caramel color, right? So, see that? Give it a little swirl, coat this bad boy. Let's give it a nose. So one of the things I continue going, again, like I said, this isn't my first time doing this. That wheat gives it kind of a little bit of a funk smell to me. Not a bad way. But it's very sugar cookie, that kind of like sugar cookie dough, like very doughy. I like to do this now. I smell above it. When I smell above it, I get a little smoke, vanilla, caramel. Yeah, and again, just that sugar cookie note, a little tart, maybe like a little cherry, but some of those more like floral notes, there's no rye in this, right? So a lot of those floral spice, pungent notes, that's more of like in a rye mash bill. This is going to be more of that classic vanilla sugar kind of smell. So, okay, this is going to be my first taste of whiskey today, so like, just give me, all right, here we go. Okay, so right on the front of the tongue there, again, this is my first taste of whiskey today. Goes down, get a little Kentucky. That's only 100 proof. Get a little Kentucky hug there. That's the alcohol on the way down. It's smooth. Again, it's only 100 proof. Very straightforward. Nothing crazy. Gonna catch you off guard with a bourbon, right? Vanilla, caramel notes, classic, right? But that's kind of where they're inserting themselves. Classic bottle and bond bourbon at a value price of like 46 to 50 bucks, right? So nothing's gonna scream out at you. However, that being said, for this being their first run, Like this is right up there with right here, right? Old Forester. Like this is different tasting profile, but as far as quality is concerned, you could tell me like this distillery's been around since the 1800s. I'd be like, yeah, I trust that. I believe that, right? Let's go in for one more sip here. Second sip. Yeah, that's good. Really good. Nothing crazy complicated. It maybe there's not a long aftertaste. It doesn't really sit on your tongue too much. Mouthfeel. It doesn't coat the tongue necessarily, but again, it's not something super aged. I don't know if it's non-chill filtered. It doesn't say here, I don't think. If it's non-chill filtered. You know, it's not lasting on the tongue. It doesn't have anything crazy on the back. And I would just say it's very straightforward. It's a great bourbon, right? It's great. I think it's perfect for the price point. The tasting notes on it, I think it's perfect. So again, very straightforward, caramel, vanilla, that sugary, sugar cookie, doughy kind of smell and taste. Not very complex on the back end, almost kind of not evaporates on the tongue, but just kind of goes down, doesn't leave you with much smokiness or anything like that. Okay, let's compare that to now Wilderness Trail. This has also been aged. Now, to be fair, it doesn't say how much it's been aged. And somebody might be like, Sean, it's bottled in bond, that means it has to be aged 6 years. So this could be aged 6 years. But again, the reason I'm pouring this and comparing the two is another, like what we call wheated bourbon, bottled in bond, same 100 proof, just a little bit higher wheat. So like, is there any difference in taste? Wilderness Trail, also a very well-known, small, it's not a small distillery, it's not, Brown-Forman, it's not, Wild Turkey, it's not any of these. So, color-wise, again, roughly the same, right? Relatively same specs, bottled in bond, probably aged 6 years, same relative, not same mash bill, but again, 3 grain, higher wheat content. So again, it's a little bit lower. It's a little bit lower, but I would say Bardstown maybe a little bit darker. I'm pulling hairs with that. Pulling hair. We're not going there, Sean. We're not going there. We're here to talk about bourbon. Bourbon. Okay, let's give it a little snipper. Man, okay, so it's funny. I did this once just to kind of see how this would go before I recorded, right? Last week did this, like last Friday or Saturday. And for me on the Wilderness Trail, I get a very zesty note. It's like orange. Yeah, man. It's very prominent to me. It's such a different nose than Bardstown. But granted, like relatively same mash bill, right? Like this is the crazy thing about bourbons, the way they age, whatever barrels they're using. It could be the same mash bill, but different yeast strains, dude. Shit's wild. Alcohol be crazy. Yeah. So this one, no rye in it, but like zesty, fruitier, less caramel sweet. Smell above it, I get a little smokiness. So a different nose altogether. The caramel, the vanilla notes, the burnt sugar, it's there, but it's behind, to me, more of that citrus smell. Yeah. Okay, let's give it a little tasty taste. This is one of the things that happens when you compare, is like the two bring out different things about each other. This was a gift. To the person who gifted this, if you're seeing this, thank you so much. It's a good bourbon. It's just not my favorite for my palate. You know, if I'm being completely honest, I don't like 3-grain mash bills to begin with. I like 4-grain mash bills. For the most part, from what I've tasted, I am not a bourbon connoisseur. I might be fooling you here. I like a 4-grain mash bill. Like, I like rye and wheat working together. I don't like high rye, but I also, through this, have found that I don't like just wheated bourbons either. Out of the two, I like the Bardstown more, but I feel like without rye in the mash bill for me, there's a level of complexity that's missing. Like, I like spice and black pepper and some floral notes. I don't like it to only be that, because for me, when it goes too heavy that way, it starts to taste like spearmint and like soap and like eucalyptus and like things that I don't want in my bourbon personally. So like a rye whiskey right now, this could change as I age. It's just not for me. But at the same time, like just a higher wheated bourbon, I'm also finding I don't like. And so like this is higher wheat than this one, and it's good, but there's like not a lot going on, which for a lot of people's fine, right? It's just very straightforward, it's funk. But on the front end of that, it's almost too funky. It's almost too funky. I don't know if 4% of added wheat in a mash bill can make that big of a difference, but to me it does. Like if you're somebody that likes wheated, bottle and bonds, whatever, if you're looking for a wheated bourbon, right? You know, I don't know if these are gonna be the two you're looking at. Again, I don't know how, like this is probably a lot easier to find than the Bardstown right now, but here's the deal. I think I should have done my homework on this. I think Wilderness Trail has been around longer than Bardstown Bourbon has, but I would go with Bardstown. Let's go back to Bardstown here. Ooh. Oh my God, going back to the nose after this. Oh my, holy hell. This is the great thing about comparing. They bring out different notes in each other. I'm picking up so much more caramel on this now. Oh, that's a great nose coming back to it. Oh. Okay, I'm excited to taste this now on the second fly through. Let's give it a tasty taste. Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. Man. I think if you are into bourbon, if you're into whatever your alcohol choices, it's good to compare things like that, because like if I just had the Bardstown, I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty good, you know. But if I was to compare that to like a rare breed or something that had like a 4-grain mash bill, like just an 1870, it's not really fair, right? They're different. They're all bourbons, but they're different. And I'm lucky enough to have similar bourbons here as far as like wheated, bottled, and bond, and compare the two. And going back to it, having something that's relatively similar, right, running in the same lane, I go, oh shit, like this is actually for like what it is in comparison to something else on the market that's marketing itself as the same thing, really good. For me, for my palate. So on the second flavor run through, I did pick up a little bit more zest, a little bit more orange zest, and again, this one had that, so I think that's where my brain started cueing. It got a little bit more complex for me. It wasn't just, oh, it's just straightforward caramel and vanilla. It got just a hair bit more complex. I will say this straight up evaporates on you. There is zero after. This one, it stays on the tongue a little bit. Again, not as much as I would like, and that's partly proof, right? It's only 100 proof, goes away relatively quick. It's not super complex. It's a 3-grain mash bill. All that to say, Bardstown, Origin Co. So, like, for the price point, absolutely. If this was $70 or something, I'd be like, okay, get your rare breed still for like 50 bucks, and this is still one of the best bourbons of all time, in my humble opinion, right? Or you could get, I don't have it with me, you could get Old Forester 1920 for like 50 something bucks. I'd be like, but it's not, right? This is in that $45 to $50 range, and I think it's perfect. I think, like, I wish I had the rye to compare the two, but I like this a lot. I think it's totally fair for the price. I would buy this. I would probably even buy this at $55, like about $10 more. I think anything more than that is a stretch just for the lack of complexity. But again, that's not necessarily what they're going for. It's a 6-year bottled and bond, right? It's a really, really good middle ground bourbon that's fitting into that place in the market. And I think the value is there for it. So I would highly recommend, if you're into bourbon and you see this on your shelves, get it. You know, and if you know you like ryes, maybe go for the rye one. If you can afford both, get both and just do a fun little comparison of the two different mash bills.